Hey, gang. How's everybody doing? I hope you can hear us because my sound, you know
Oh,
me, you know how
man.
sound goes.
Yeah, but this isn't your fault though. It's like Windows updated and broke your ability to control turning it off and not
That
turning it back
is
on again.
very
So,
true. Very true. I'm going to, at least that's what we're going with. That's the story
yeah.
we're sticking with at
Yeah.
this point.
And who knows if anybody even heard our excuse.
Yeah, please let us know if you did. So anyway, now this one is this I can't wait to do this one. This is so cool. I can't wait to bring on our guest because this is something that I absolutely love. Anybody that knows me, and sorry, Miss Sheila, if you're listening today. And
She's going to hang up as soon as she sees the
she's gonna hang
topic.
up as soon as she sees the topic. But it is we are talking about spreadsheets, and I can't wait because not only spreadsheets, but spreadsheets, the good ones. No, I'm
The
just
good kind of spreadsheets,
there
yeah.
you go. I had to put that up. Sorry, I had to put that
No,
up.
that's all right. That's all right.
But let's.
Oh,
We're gonna,
Richard doesn't hear anything. Richard, turn up your volume. It's all
hopefully
good.
the sound's out there. Okay. I hope someone else is. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out soon enough. Right? Without further ado, Ted, come on and join us. Ted Juch.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, awesome.
The only person who likes spreadsheets more than Michael is Ted.
I don't know. They're pretty fun. It's pretty
Yes.
awesome.
Yes,
Are
for
you going to show
sure.
us some cool tricks today, or you got some hidden gems or?
Yeah, so I could talk about spreadsheets forever, but I think
Oh,
kind
no,
of
no,
what I
no, no,
want.
no, no. We only have like 30, 40 minutes, okay? Not
Oh,
forever.
oh, I thought this was
Do
like
you
one of those
both hear me?
24-hour things. So,
No, I'm talking to both of you. I'm talking to both of you.
oh,
She
okay.
has to emphasize because we probably would. You're right. So,
But yeah, so I think I'm going to talk about today is just some basic how you interact with data in different places within a spreadsheet. So I know a lot of people who may be used to Excel know how to reference data in other cells or in other tabs, but kind of the cool thing I want to show is how you can reference data in other spreadsheets that are outside of the spreadsheet that you're in and how Google handles that compared to how Excel handles that and some of the benefits that you get from being online and on the web, and some cool things that you do with that. So,
that's awesome. Well, first of
yep.
all, let me just kind of preface and just tell people out there that how we even met or I found you or whatever. It's really kind of cool. We're both in the product expert uh, forums, basically, I guess, where we go in and we answer stuff and do some really cool stuff. So I'm going to go to there right now so everybody can kind of see that. You can kind of see this is it. It's support.google.com. This is their homepage where they have all of them listed. Then you can hit this little down arrow here. If you click the down arrow,
And this is for people who are not product experts, right? People who need help or have questions about any of the Google's products. Is that
that's
correct?
right. That's right. Good
Okay.
point. Excellent. Yes, exactly. So if you're having issues with certain products that you have, and I believe you guys, and you correct me because they've changed this, I think, but Ted, aren't you guys under Docs Editor?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah. So if I go right here to the Docs Editor one, basically what that's showing is kind of showing all of the docs. I like to go to the community part of it, and this is where you can come in and you can see sheets, docs, slides, forms. But actually, is it not more than that? Don't you have like keep? Is keep part of that or?
Yeah, they keep kind of goes in and out of the editors. It just kind of depends on lots of things. Keep doesn't have a whole lot of features, so there's
I
not a lot
got
of
you.
questions about it. But yeah, I
I
think Keep
got you.
falls
Well,
under the
a
editors.
lot of my followers out there know that I love Google Keep. I'm an
Oh yeah.
avid fan. I mean, I just love it. But anyway, so yeah, this is where you would go and ask your questions about these specific things, or maybe even get your answer before you even ask a question. A lot of times, there's so much in there from before and stuff like that. But these are the forums that I'm talking about where we, like I said, we are product experts, and this is where you would go to search for that. If you have any questions, pretty much with any Google product. I mean, it really is. It's just about any Google product for the most part. So I just like to show that and tell, and that's where we met. We actually met in person. It's kind of cool. So anyway, okay. That being said, let's get on with some fun stuff, huh?
Sure. So what I think I'm going to do is just not sure what the audience really knows, so I'm just going to do a little bit of basic things around how you even get to a Google Sheets, kind of maybe some
Okay.
terminology at the beginning, and um, the way Excel handles some things, most people think of a spreadsheet as just that sheet that you're looking at the time. Well, Excel calls that a tab. There's lots of different things. So I kind of just want to show that real quick, and then kind of get into it. So if you guys can show my screen.
Yep.
So there's a few fun different ways to get into a Google sheet, but the easiest way and how I normally do it is through Google Drive. So Google Drive is Google's version of kind of file storage and does lots of things, but it's also where the docs editors live. So easiest thing, I come here if I need to do a new spreadsheet, click on new, go to Google Sheets. You can either click on that, it'll take you to a new sheet, or you can also do a template, but we're just gonna do a blank spreadsheet today. If you go from a template, that'll bring up this template gallery, and there's some pre-built templates for things like maybe timesheets or calendars or budgets or things like that that other people have created, or even Google has created, that you can start from in case you wanna do that and not build your own.
And while we're on that, real quick question, because
Yep.
I know this gets asked to me all the time. If I create a template, will it show up there?
No.
Okay, good.
Wait,
Thank you.
wait. Okay, so from a template are
Okay, good
public
to start.
templates that have been made, or templates that Google has made or other people have made, but not the templates I have made?
Yeah, so in Google Drive, basically, there's really no concept of a template itself. So if you come up with a template for something that you're going to keep doing, it's basically just a sheet. And if you want to use it again, you would just make a copy of it, which is really what the template gallery really is. It's somebody came up with this. Google keeps track of that and stores that. And then when you want to do it or use it, you can come out here and do it. So all of these were either made by Google or one of their partners.
Gotcha.
And so I think that it may be a little bit different with if you have like a G Suite account or your company uses like Google, that I think there may be like a template type gallery just for your organization. But I don't use it, so I'm not sure if that's there. But these templates are just public templates that Google gives you, and you can't like submit a template to be put out in here in the gallery. And this gallery is public to everybody, so there's no like personal gallery.
And just real quick, if you were to use one of those, are you editing it publicly, or is it basically make a copy for your use only, and then your preferences or privacy preferences are based on your actions?
Yep. So when you come out here and you pick one of these, it's going to make a copy of it, and it'll just be private just to you.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So one of the things too is, like, let's say the company, like this, for example, Xero made this one. It's for financial statements. If they made updates to this template, it's not going to update to your version of it. As soon as you make a copy, it's point in time static. So most of the time, these types of things aren't that complicated where, hey, you're waiting for an update to their template to do it. It's kind of a one-time thing, but just keep in mind, when you do that, it's making a copy. It's private to you unless you share it with somebody else, and it's static as to the content of that template at the time. So any new updates wouldn't come down to your version of it. But
sorry, I didn't mean to spend a whole lot of time on this, because I know you're
this is cool. I haven't seen some of these are new, or that I haven't seen in a while. So there's lots of, you never know what you're going to find out here sometimes.
That is true. That is true, because everything's always updating like that. But I just asked that because I had this question the other day when I was going over with somebody who always reaches out to me on spreadsheets, and they said, well, I thought I created this template time kind of thing, because we do that at work. I create my own. It's like you said, though, it's not truly a template. It's just a starting point. So the first thing we do is teach them to, okay, go rename this, and boom, start your own.
Yeah,
that's basically how the template works in a spreadsheet on Google. So
so there's actually some tricky things. This is actually kind of related, so I'm just going to talk about it real quick. But there's some tricky things you can do with this. And so I know last year when I was on here, I think I talked about the March Madness tournament stuff that I managed through Google Spreadsheets. And so I basically, with that, there's basically two templates. There's a template for like a personal, you're like your personal picks for your teams. Then if you want to do like a bracket grouping type of thing too. And so the way I manage that is I want people to come out and use my template, so I can't put it out here. And so what I do is, for the security on that, I just say, hey, the whole world can see this template. They can view it, but they can't make any changes to it.
Gotcha.
And so when I publish links to it, I actually publish a /copy instead of the actual like link to it itself. And so when a user clicks on the link, it just makes a copy of my spreadsheet automatically, and it doesn't touch mine. Otherwise, you'd have to come in to see, you'd see my template, then you'd have to go to File, make a copy, and sometimes that's a little confusing for people. And so that was kind of a newer thing a few years ago, but and I can actually show you just real quick like what that would look like if we did a new spreadsheet here.
Just add /copy to the end.
My internet's a little slow, so let's get this done. Yeah, so this is kind of what the URL normally looks like. You have, docs.google.com/spreadsheet, so you know you're in a spreadsheet. This whole thing here is like the unique ID for the spreadsheet, and that's going to be important later when I talk about import range, but that's just kind of the unique ID for the spreadsheet. And then there's this little bit here at the end that says /edit, and that just means, hey, I'm editing this right now. And then this GID thing is a unique ID for the tab that you have open. So if I created like a new tab, it always defaults to 0. Well, hold on. Man, my internet's really slow right now. Probably because I'm streaming video. So now it created a sheet 2 here, and so the GID changes, and so that's like the unique ID for the tab reference. But anyways, so if I come in here and I change all this, and I know, okay, that's the base, of the spreadsheet, and I just type copy and I hit enter, it automatically said, hey, you want to make a copy of this? Like, yes, I do.
Oh, wow.
And so it'll make a copy. So what I do for my templates for those types of things is I post the link out there. Instead of having /edit, it says /copy. But another thing to keep in mind too, that even though it says /edit, if I have view rights on the spreadsheet and somebody clicks on it, they will still only be able to view it. So you can't override any of the security by trying to be cheeky and type something into that URL. The spreadsheet itself always kind of manages what the security is. But so that's kind of a way if you have a template gallery, like say you have stuff that you do want people in the public to use, and say you have a website and you describe what that spreadsheet does, maybe you have like a screenshot of it and then you have a link to it, I would always recommend putting that link, having the /copy there, because then it's just really easy for that end user to know, hey, okay, I'm getting a copy of this, because they get that splash screen from Google that's clear that, hey, you're making a copy of this and you're not actually editing their version of the template. So,
and I will say this, just not to alarm people, because I know people get freaked out. I've also got many phone calls on this too, especially with Google Sheets. When you do make that copy and you start your own and you're working on your own and you go and edit formulas or change a formula, what happens is when you go to save that, it's going to ask you for permission. You're going to have to provide permissions and all this kind of stuff and go through that process. Is that not right? I mean, I think that's right. You have to approve and then hit yes, and then go through this, and then you have to go to advanced and then do all that. And
yeah, so that it depends on, so there's a different type of security on a spreadsheet. I think it's called suggesting view. And normally I do that with like Google Docs, where it's like a document that they put a workflow behind it. So I can go on and say, hey, I want to put a comment to this thing. I highlight it, I add my comment, and my suggestion may be to change, some grammar or something on the sentence. And then there's kind of a workflow built into Google Docs. So the owner of the spreadsheet could then say, okay, or if I had one, I'd say, okay, it looks like Michael, he found an issue of where I did something wrong with the grammar. He's suggesting this, and then I can go accept it. When I accept it, it'll go do that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I guess what I was saying, okay, when you're using, let's say a timesheet.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a personal timesheet. They're going to start from the template. When they create and make it their own, when they change ownership, they have to give permissions behind all of the formulas and stuff like that. At least that's what we've had to do to authorize, hey, this is okay and all this kind of stuff, because you've created this and it's got all these formulas and stuff in it. And
yeah,
so I want to make sure that I'm right on that, but I just know that at work that we have to do that.
Yeah, so probably what's happening there is when you have a template, that when they make the copy of the template, it's basically a fresh version of it. And so if that template has formulas in it that reference another spreadsheet, you would have to authorize, yes, I do want to connect to that other spreadsheet to pull whatever's being pulled into my spreadsheet. That's probably what you're seeing.
That's exactly what it is. Yes. Yeah. Because all of those timesheets go into that one main one. So that's where that tie-in is, and you have to accept that every single time.
Yeah.
But it's a good security, though.
That's
kind of where I was getting. That's kind of where I was going with this. Was the security part of that is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and when it comes to data, pulling from a security perspective, there's not much. There's really nothing that somebody could do to like do something malicious on another sheet that's going to come in and screw up your sheet, other than just messing up data if you're pulling that in. So really, what those controls that are there in place is just to keep the reliability of your data that you're working on, that you have full control over whatever is in this spreadsheet, and basically saying, yeah, I know there's a formula in the spreadsheet that goes and talks to another spreadsheet, but I don't want to allow that, so I'm not going to let that happen. But in your case with a timesheet, of course, you'd want to be able to pull in information from somebody else's timesheet. And so just as part of setting that up, when that person creates a new version of it, your master version probably has to know, hey, there's something new out there. I need to go connect to it and authorize that connection. It's probably what's happening.
Thank you very much for clearing that up, because that's exactly what it is. So it's not just necessarily a new sheet. It's one that's connected to something else. Got it.
Gotcha. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I've opened up a new spreadsheet here. This is, I can only see that. I mean, everybody, you guys can see this because I'm sharing it with you, but nobody else can see this. And you can prove that when you click on, you highlight over here, it says private only to me. Oh, I have to name it something. Let's just show demo. And so here, this is like what the sharing settings look like for a default template. So you can see it's not shared at all with anybody. So I'm just going to type, my name. Let's do this. Let's do name. Let's do favorite food and favorite color. And so I'm Ted. My favorite food, gummy worms.
Gummy worms.
And I love green. So let's say one of the most basic things of being able to reference data or information from within a tab is just basically doing a direct references is what it is. So say I wanted to put in whatever value is in this cell here, right there. I could just type equals, and I can manually type in A2, which is the address to that cell, and see how it kind of gets yellow there. I don't know if you can see that, but it gets yellow. I hit enter, and so now Ted is over here. And so if I change this to like Michael, this one changes too, because this is just referencing what's in that cell.
That cell, right? Gotcha.
Yep. So you can do the same thing with like multiple cells. So if I wanted to reference like all this stuff, you can do that. And so it's going to yell at you because it's saying, hey, I can only put one value in this cell. I don't know why you want to put all those things in this cell. And so what this actually is it's a grouping of cells is called an array. And so it says an array value can't be found. Well, that's true because it's not an array. It's just two cell references there. So if you want to reference like a bunch of cells, Google has this awesome thing called array formula, where you just do this, and now it reads it as an array itself, and so then it'll throw everything there. So
cells.
Yeah, so if I could do that, it changes blue and pizza. So all that changes. So that's really nice.
Wow.
I'll just do this again for that. So that's just referencing information on the same cell.
Can you do, I'm just curious, without adding the array formula, can you do the curly brackets or no? And I know,
yeah,
I know I'm
curly
advanced.
brackets should work.
I know I'm advanced, but
Yeah.
I'm shaking my finger at you behind the camera.
I know, I'm nerdy. I know, I get it.
Yeah, curly brackets will work. I think we can also do.
What in the world are curly brackets? I just saw them on the screen. And I have no clue what the heck they are.
Okay, so it's the ones where you're right next to your letter P.
If you the script.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the curly brackets he's showing you now. And you can make it actually go down instead of across too, can't you?
Yeah, so
I swear.
So how did you do that? Do that one more time and I'll pay attention.
So curly brackets, if you do like A2 through C2, it's basically the same thing as writing an array formula, so it throws it sideways.
Gotcha.
But then what you can also do is stack arrays on top of each other. So if I wanted to stack two cells, like say I wanted to put let's do this. Say I wanted to say like Michael and then pizza.
Yeah.
I can accomplish that same thing by doing equals. I do curly brackets, A2, and then you do semicolon, because that means, hey, put it below it.
Make them up and down.
Make them up and down and do that, and then it'll go up and down.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
I'm writing frantically as you're doing that. I'm writing it frantically in my notebook.
I just nerded out right there. I just nerded out.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so
we just lost all of our viewers. They're all like, "What the heck?" No.
So what's cool? What's neat about this though is when you're trying to like you're showing right here where you want that data, but you just want it where you want it over here and that kind of stuff in specific spots. You could have over there like a little card made, like a little card section where it has. I want the name, the social security number, all this kind of stuff. I want it to come out looking like a little pretty little card. Here's where all the data is, but I want that coming out on a card. But I want some of the stuff up and down, and I want the birth date down here and over here, and you can have specific spots where all those are. That's kind of what you're doing. I mean, that's what you're doing, presenting. So then you could actually have, and I know I'm going to nerd out again, data validation that you can pick from a list of those names, and all that stuff would just come that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry. I know I went too far, but I get nerdy on this.
It's okay. There's like one last thing to show related to this that's like really powerful that I use in some other places too. So say you have I don't know. See, like, so your timesheet thing, for example, this is probably where you got this idea. But say I have another spreadsheet that also has this information here. So what was my favorite? Gummy worms in green. And say I wanted to stack all that stuff on top of each other. Well, I can use this curly bracket thing. So if you do a comma here, oops, my mouse is on.
I'm gonna bring this on just to help those of us like me. Thank you, Andrew. Gives us a little visual
of the curly brackets.
Yep.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. And hello to everybody watching. Appreciate you guys being out there. Eric is out there, Construction Cronies. Phil, and I think I saw Richard.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your support. Love you guys.
And Mike was probably driving home. He may be home by now. All right.
Okay, so what you've done there.
So I used the curly bracket thing, and so I took two ranges. So I took A2 through C2 and H2 through J2. And when you put them in the curly brackets and separate them with a comma, it basically puts it next to each other.
Oh.
So but that's not really valuable because I really want to stack it on top of each other. So if you separate it with the semicolon, now it stacks it on top of each other.
How cool is that?
So in theory here, what you can do is you can have a bazillion, collecting data from a bazillion different places. And if you want to combine it easily, as long as it's structured the same, you can use this same thing. And you can basically change this to a C, which means it's called an open-ended range. So it just takes everything below it. It doesn't actually stop it. And you could do J, open-ended range, and so,
you just crossed over your,
oh no.
Yeah, you crossed over.
Oh, shoot.
That's all right.
Doing it all on the same, the same
shape. I gotta move it over one, and then it'll work just fine.
Actually, it might not. Oh no, for up and down it will. It'll work.
No, it's yelling at me.
Well, because you still have the stuff above. Michael Pizza Blue above.
No, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, right now it's. Hold on, I have to stop this because it's open-ended, and I'm stacking them on top of each other. And there's not a lot of data below it. It's like adding a ton of rows to the bottom of my spreadsheet because it's trying to figure out the end of it. Normally, when you do this, you have you'd put a query in there, and so your query would only pull in
the ones that are
where it's not blank, basically. So we could put a filter around that where it's not blank, and then it would bring everything in. But I don't want to do that live because it'll. I'm not sure it would work the first time I did it.
Yeah, and like Andrew says, so how many zeros are in a bazillion? Because
so you can see. So right now it stopped. It was trying to figure it out, and eventually it will just say, "Hey, I'm going to stop doing this because you didn't mean to do that, and
you didn't mean to be so open-ended."
Yeah, but basically, so that's kind of a cool thing too about that. You can do it in Excel, but it's a little harder much longer formulas, but that's very basic, a very small formula. It's not a basic concept, but very small formulas to do stuff like that. So as we go off the tangent of curly brackets, curly brackets.
So referencing other cells, that's what you just showed there, right? Within the same spreadsheet. So what if you had multiple, I guess, sheets? Is that what they're called here?
So we're going to call these tabs.
Okay.
So let's say we have multiple tabs, and
you just copy that data from sheet 1 and it would do it.
Yeah, so let's just take this. My internet, normally it's not this slow. My internet's just very slow right now. And so we'll just change this. Anywhere green. And we'll just keep it at 2.
Have a total page or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's usually another good use case where you have multiple tabs with the same information or the same structure, but then you want to do some sort of like a totals tab or a summary tab or something. You'd be referencing data from all of those other different tabs in one tab to come up with something. But
a good example is like if you have January, February, March as your separate tabs, and then you have a total tab on the left-hand side. A lot of times you want to get the total from January, total from December, total from that. And so those columns can all add into that first sheet to give you a running total for the year.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so doing your own, I mean, as a small business owner, taking care of my own finances and whatnot, I utilize this with spreadsheets all the time because I do only want to have one place where I go and not 12 different spreadsheets. But you had mentioned something, I think, in the green room that if I did have 12 separate spreadsheets, I could still combine or reference.
Yep.
Interesting.
Import range, yes.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll get to that. There's if we have time, The other cool thing is, if you have, well, let me keep going here, and then I'll get to that piece. So let's say let's go ahead and do that. Let's just create like a summary tab, and we're going to move it over here. Oops. We'll just call it summary. It's not wanting to move. Move this one. And so say I wanted to get, let's change this to numbers. We can do, how about
oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Favorite number. This isn't really going to make a whole lot of sense, but it'll work.
Or just
let's add somebody else.
Yeah, you could just say sales or something. It doesn't matter.
Darth Vader, Sales, let's do sales.
Yeah.
His favorite food.
Wait a minute, I didn't have as much sales as Darth Vader. Hold on a second. That
ain't
right.
His favorite color is black. So say you and Darth Vader were, we'll do January. Those are your January sales.
I hear you.
And then
pick it up, Michael. Pick it up.
I know.
So I'm just going to duplicate this tab, and then we'll give you more sales in January. How about that?
I love it.
So we'll duplicate this.
Call it February.
And how about 10?
All right.
Yeah.
And let's get rid of favorite color and favorite food because that's just not going to make much sense.
Have to do it on both pages then, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the key whenever you're setting these things up while you're doing this is to keep the same format throughout, right? Is that the right word, format? You want your data in the same columns, so when you bring things over, it simplifies your life and doesn't mess things up. Is that right?
Yep. So what I normally do in situations like that is I'll create the template up front, and I'll just keep a tab called template. And whenever I need to use it again, I'll just make a duplication of that template. I wouldn't recommend, like, if you have the cell or have the, like what I just did, I wouldn't recommend doing where I took January and just made a copy of it, because you probably have put a bunch of information in January, then you got to go delete it, and you run the risk of, oops, maybe I didn't delete everything. So if you have a template that's always empty, always make a copy from the template.
Yeah. Ted, can you drill down? Like Excel used to allow you to drill down sheet to sheet to sheet, with a formula, like within a formula. And this is advanced, so you guys go listen to some music for a second or whatever. But
yeah,
wow, Michael.
So let's
sorry.
Let's do.
You didn't
so
have
let's
to.
do,
I was just asking.
You can, and so let's
Okay.
do. We'll set this up hard coded right now.
Okay.
February. Okay, so things sold. So let's say I want to get the total of things sold from in January, and so a total is just the sum formula. So I can do sum, and I come over here. I click on January.
Mm-hmm.
And so where are all the things that were sold? And this is kind of annoying, but it's in the way right now.
Yeah.
So I know, we'll just say, everything was sold in that column. So I hit enter, and it's 13. That's good. So sorry, how this works here is now before we just had these cells written, but now you have to tell it where exactly you're looking. So the way that they do this is just called just a tab reference, basically. And so you put the name of the tab and you put an exclamation point, and that's how you reference data in another sheet.
Tab.
So, or tab, yeah. So I could also do like equals summary. And what is this, like A2? And that'll still work too, even if you're on the same tab. But if I just did A2, it always assumes whatever tab you're in, that's what you're referencing. So that's the way you can reference data in another cell. So or in another tab. Let's say I want to do this for February. I can just copy the formula, paste it here. But you'll notice when I copied it, the 2 and the 9 changed to a 3 and a 10. So you'd have to go back and change that. The way to avoid that is, okay, I always know in every single template that I have, it's always going to be in B2 through B9. And so you can put these dollar signs in front of it.
That makes it a set reference.
Yeah. And so now when I copy it, it's not going to change the 2 and the 9. It keeps it 2 and the 9, but we're still referencing January. So I have to come in here and type February. And now it's going and looking at February, and we can just go over here and make sure that this is actually 18. Yep, 10 and 8, 18, which it also shows you the sum at the bottom. So that's one way to do it.
Wait, where did you see the sum at the bottom?
If you look in the bottom right corner or next to the Explore button.
What? I didn't know it did that.
It also does count. It counts how many cells you've selected as well.
Holy smokes. I have learned like 15 things already in this episode. All right.
Well, so
I'm frantically writing this down, Ted. Slow down a little. Okay. Mark wants to say thanks for your help with sheets. I want to admit that too, and then continue writing.
So one other thing, just because you mentioned this, if you highlight a bunch of data, Google does some stuff in the background to help you, and you can click on Explore. I don't think I have enough, but it'll come out here and give you some basic metrics about your data. It'll suggest some charts and all types of things.
Oh my gosh, like you could use those things to create a report and stuff?
Yeah, like if I just click on it, I can just click and drag it over here.
Oh my word. My mind just got blown. Hold on. Drop the mic.
Yeah, you can do like, some people like these alternating colors things a lot, so I can click that and it'll format everything. Oh, that's a bad format.
They're too bright.
Yeah, and they don't change the header.
Yeah, the font
background.
Well, they don't change the font color too.
Yeah. And so another new thing they've been working on too is you can ask it like questions about your data, and it'll like understand what you're asking and then give you the answer.
Doesn't work great, but they are working on it.
Yeah, and it works better with obviously more data than this. This isn't really interesting, but I've seen some pretty crazy stuff with that Explore thing, but I don't know how useful or how people actually use it. I know just in general, some people are sometimes just like, I don't know if I trust that very much, because you just really don't know what it's doing, and sometimes it could potentially be wrong depending on what you're trying to do. But I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. So one last thing with this is, say you wanted to do March, and you don't want to keep coming in here. We don't have March, but You didn't want to keep coming in here and
changing that name.
Changing that, yeah. You can actually reference this cell to determine what the name of the tab is. And so that's using a function called indirect.
I love this. I just learned this. Well, I didn't just learn it. I've known it for a while, but I've really started using this a lot in the stuff I'm doing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so with indirect, you just type in, hey, I want to basically convert what I'm seeing in A3. I want that to be part of
It's awesome.
my string here, and then I put some double quotes around this guy. And boom, I get the 13. So what this turns into is basically it's saying, hold on, if we go back here. So the first piece, it says A3. So whatever is in A3, which is January, it's a, and then the ampersand is like it's a join. It means just put that next to whatever's next. And so the next thing I have is just hard coded in there, the exclamation point, the V2, like the rest of the reference. And so you put that in double quotes because all that's doing is creating a string to be your formula. So it puts everything in there. So now what I can do is I can delete this. When I copy this down here, now there's my 18 because now I'm looking at A4, which is February, and so it's going to go to the February tab. So what this makes it really easy to do is you create a summary, you write your formula once, as long as your data is structured the same way in every tab, and you type the name of the tab correctly, you can just copy the formula down and boom, you're done. So it's pretty fancy. Yeah, and that's something you can do in Excel also.
Can't hear you, Heather. Can't hear you, Heather.
That's probably a good thing. Don't worry about it. I was just going to say, so as long as you didn't do something goofy like misplace the R in February, then you're probably okay because it knows that January and February are months and the next one would be, or you're saying it has to be spelled exactly the same in that cell as it is for the tab.
It is.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what matters. Okay, gotcha. So you can spell it wrong as long as you spell it wrong in both places?
Yes.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
But you could also do it where, let's say I'm really lazy and I don't want to type out the rest of it. I highlight those 3 things. It'll do an autofill, and hopefully it realizes those are months, and it fills in the rest of the months for you.
Okay, I will admit to utilizing that often. I got to say this for Phil. I'm sorry, this covers up Ted's face, and I don't like that part. But anyway, Phil says, this is pretty cool. I'm not a spreadsheet guy, mainly because it seems so complicated. But now I might stop using tables for everything.
There you go.
And Mark says, that is cool. I have to agree. This is, you know, anytime we spend time with Ted, I know I joked around in the beginning that I just met him today, but anytime we spend time with Ted, I'm just sitting here going, all right. My notes are frantic too, by the way.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
See?
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay, so let's get to the other spreadsheet thing.
However long you got with us, I want to make sure we save about 15 or 20 with everybody else. You keep going as long as you want to go. I'll keep you here forever. You know that.
Okay, so let's do this last piece and then we'll be done. How about that? Yep.
That'll work. Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new spreadsheet. So new. It's creating. Usually it's much faster. It just depends on your internet connection, which right now mine's a little bit slow.
That's all right. We got a time for a joke. A string walks into a spreadsheet bar and asks for a whiskey. The bartender says, hey, aren't you a string? We don't serve your kind. The string says, no, afraid not. Thanks, Phil. Faster internet saves you from bad jokes, just saying.
Gosh, yeah, that's funny. Okay, so what my goal is going to be is I'm going to pull in, let's do something similar, and we'll take this, and we'll put it over here. Like, let's say somebody else was working on the same thing, and they just wanted to add some data to our thing here, and it's going to be something else, and we just didn't want to copy and paste it, and maybe they're going to update it, and we want it to update to our spreadsheet in real time, and all that. So the way to do that is to connect the two spreadsheets together using a formula called import range. So let's add. We need some more characters. How about Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse sells 30, big seller.
Wow.
Yeah, how about Goofy?
Darth Vader is not going to be happy about that.
I know these guys are going to have to.
Going to battle it out.
Yeah.
Or Mickey.
Disney expects more. He needs to step up.
Yeah.
He's part of the club now, you know.
That's true. Good point.
So what I'm gonna do is I just want to pull that data into this sheet as if it was something,
You were
something I'm referencing. So I'm just gonna call this external. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write a formula in this spreadsheet that goes and gets data from this spreadsheet. And so let me talk about security real quick. So you have to have access to the sheet in order for you to pull data from it. In this case, since I'm the owner of both of these sheets and that are both private to me, there's nothing else I have to do to get it to work. But say I had a spreadsheet and like demo is my spreadsheet and demo 2 is Michael's spreadsheet, I would have to request access to Michael's spreadsheet through the normal sharing, or Michael could share it with me, and then I could reference data on his spreadsheet because I've been authorized to view that spreadsheet.
So do you need more than view permission? Do you need edit permission, or just view permission allows you to reference it?
Yep, just view permission.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So I also always like to say there's great documentation on import range, Google Sheets. And so there's all kinds of
That's great
stuff out here about how to use it, but I'm just going to explain it to you very quickly and easily. So the import range formula really requires two things. It needs to know, okay, what's the spreadsheet you're getting the data from, and where on that spreadsheet am I getting that data?
Yeah.
So
what tab and what range?
Yep.
What tab and what range are you trying to pull in?
Yep. So that's the second piece of it here. And so this is saying, hey, basically this formula says, hey, go to this spreadsheet, which isn't real, but go to this spreadsheet, which is the URL to the spreadsheet. And then this is the sheet name and the range that you're getting it from.
And both of them are in quotation marks.
Yep, both of them are in double quotes.
Yeah, double quotes. Yeah.
Yep. So let's do that. So let's go equals import range. So the first thing it asks for is the key. And so somebody like, where do you find the key? Well, the key is just this whole bit up here that I was talking about earlier. You can actually give it the whole URL if you want.
Yeah, all those letters and numbers is really what it's looking for.
Yeah.
None of the slashes, none of the text, none of that, any other stuff, just those numbers and nothing after the edit, nothing after the slash marks.
It'll still work if you give all that, but this is the best way to do it, and I'll show you why in a second. So that's the first piece, and the second piece.
And that's a comma you put in between two pieces, right?
It is.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep, and then oops, that's not it. So my sheet's just called sheet 1, and we're going to pull in A1 through B3. So we'll do sheet 1, exclamation point, A1 through B3. And you got to put the double quotes at the end. And then hit enter. So the first thing it does is it gives you a reference error, meaning, hey, I don't know what that is. And so it actually forces you to connect the two sheets together. So if you click this and you don't have access to the sheet, it won't work. But since I do and I click allow access, it says, okay, cool, it goes and checks security, make sure I have it, and then it pulls it in. So there's Mickey Mouse and Goofy's data. And the fun part is I come over here and I change this, and my internet connection is slow, but normally by the time I click over there, it'll go back, so I'll try to go fast. I got there fast enough, okay. Yeah, and so then the 40 changes. So it's super fast.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yep. So one other thing I want to show is why this key thing is really important. If it's key, is say you have a bunch of spreadsheets and you want to keep track of the keys, or maybe you have a template that just says, hey, here's my template, give me the key to your template so I can connect it. You can just have a column. Oh my gosh, this is so slow. So you can just have a column called like key. You can keep all your keys in it, and then you can just reference that cell.
Use an indirect?
You can just reference it directly.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
And so it's like if I go change this key, it's not going to work because
check that. That's genius.
Yeah, so now I could basically add a third spreadsheet to this, add the key here, and then as long as my formula is the same and just references the next one, you can pull from any sheet. So that's just kind of a different way to manage, how the connections are made versus hard coding it into a formula.
Okay, so you're importing that range. Can you import the range from 6 different spreadsheets that way just by using an array?
Yeah, so if I wanted to, we could. Do we want to do it?
Since we talked about that, I'm like, let's I'd
do
love to see how this works with multiple ranges like that.
Okay, so we'll do demo 3. You guys got to come up with 2 more characters for me.
Dumbo.
Dumbo, okay. Come on, Dumbo. Still loading. Okay, Dumbo.
And Daffy.
And
Daffy.
Oh no, Heather gets to do it. Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
We can do a third.
Your sandbox. It's fine.
It's your sandbox.
So let's do 25 and
Donald Duck, Pluto. Look, they're all helping out. I love it.
Yeah, we can do it. Pluto. I love Pluto. He sells a lot. Okay, so
good salesperson.
Yeah, so we're gonna leave. I'm not gonna go back to the spreadsheet because we know what it looks like. I put my data there. I'm just gonna grab that key and I'm just gonna throw it over here to remember it. So remember before when we were stacking those arrays on top of each other?
Yes.
What we can do is stack 2 import ranges on top of each other by doing this cheeky thing here. Now just something we have to think about, and the way we're doing it right now, we just have to remember that header row, the name and sales is on all the spreadsheets, and so if we're just stacking those ranges, it's going to come through. But we're going to hard code around that so we don't have to worry about it. But normally you could just write a query to do this and ignore that first row. So we know what this one looks like, but we want to put the other data below this. So we'll start out with the curly brackets.
That's so cool.
And so we know the first one's there already. And so we're not going to touch that one. So we're just going to copy this. And so since it's a stack, we use the semicolon. Yep. Mm-hmm. And so now what are we referencing? We're going to reference the key below it, which is D3. Actually, I think we're going to run into a problem, but I'll show you how to fix that. And we're not going to pull the header row because we already have it. We just want the data. So that starts in A2. And what? I think we went down to D.
D10 or something like that. I can't remember, something like that.
Oh no, wait, it's still B. I think we had.
It's still B, but it's 2.
We had 5 characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 4 people, yeah. So, and then we put the curly brackets. Oops, we got to close this and put the curly brackets. So here's what's going to happen is right now I haven't authorized my other spreadsheet or this spreadsheet to talk to the other one. So when I hit enter, I'm going to get an error. And so this is one of the wonky things about import range that you just have to remember. Right now it's giving me an error on the array part of the formula. It hasn't realized that actually that's not what the problem is. The problem is I can't connect to the spreadsheet. So the way around that is you can't nest import ranges before you've authorized them. So what I'm going to do is just come over here, allow the spreadsheet. See, I'm getting the reference error, need to allow access. Yeah. As soon as I allow access, boom, now this works.
Now it works.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's crazy fun.
So
even though you're the owner, it doesn't matter. It's still, you still have to allow that spreadsheet.
Because it doesn't know until it checks the preferences or the privacy settings as to whether you actually have permission to do this or not.
And then what you could do to that whole thing, you could actually make it the whole column long, but then it's going to give you a bunch of blanks in between those, but you could sort by descending. So that way all of the data would be at the top and then all the blank spaces would be at the bottom.
Yep.
Is that right?
So yeah, so what I would do is I would change this and I would query, because I love query. Yeah, so what am I querying? Well, I'm querying this whole bit.
That's crazy.
And I'm in my statement, I'm doing select. I'm selecting A and B. And how about where A is not null?
Isn't that
Oh my
crazy?
word.
Isn't that crazy?
And so, wait, hold on again.
Yeah, you probably have to do the at the end.
Sometimes it doesn't like.
I know, this is crazy. See, are we blowing everybody's mind?
This is why I didn't want to do this live.
I knew we were going there. No, I understand. Look, I get it. I understand what you're saying. So
yeah.
So what's amazing to me is watching you do this is I watch Michael do this kind of stuff all the time, and I literally have my face up against the screen the whole time, just going like I can't fathom where all this is stored up here. And now you're just going, and then just query, and then select, and then type, and then, oh, that's because whatever. Anyway, Phil has a question.
yeah,
How does this affect other people who have access to the sheet? They might have access to one, but not to the other. So how does that work?
It's a good question. So the way that this is always a contentious argument, like who actually gets to determine what the data is. So let's say I have access to demo and you guys all have access to demo, but only I have access to demo 2. So if I go in there and I write a formula that connects demo to demo 2, and I have access to demo 2, I can authorize it, it'll go through. If you go and try to write that formula yourself, you don't have access to demo 2, it won't work. But you'll still be able to see what I've done. But what you shouldn't be able to do, and I have to test this, but before, the intended behavior was you can't go in and change the range on that to basically go troll around my spreadsheet to try to find other data, because it knows who's doing it. And so it basically locks when you do that authorization, it's basically locking it to that specific range each time.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's insane.
But that was the intended behavior. I think there was some workarounds, and I'm not sure if it got fixed. But we can try to test it if.
Well, we can do. I mean, I don't want. Like I said,
yeah,
we're at an hour now. We're at an hour.
I don't want to keep you forever. Plus, I want to say that was pretty awesome, and we went. We extended a lot further than I thought we would go, and it's probably my fault because I'm the one that asked all these questions because I know a lot of this stuff. I know.
It's not my fault though. I didn't ask any questions that led him off anywhere.
Yeah. So basically, if I can just summarize real quick, and then maybe we can finish.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I know the security around Google Sheets is always something people are really interested in, and especially when you're referencing other sheets and being out in the cloud, being really collaborative. There's a lot of concerns around it. I think, when I manage these types of situations and give people advice, I always say just be as transparent with people as you possibly can and understand what people could possibly do, because sometimes, you think everybody has the best intentions, but maybe if you're sharing financial information or sales information across, different things, and you don't want all your sales representatives seeing each other's sales and things like that, just think of the worst case scenario that could happen and what could happen with it, and then determine what you want to do. So I would say in a situation like that, if you are ever concerned that you're going to have a one master spreadsheet that is going to be referencing other sheets that not everybody has access to, I would say probably don't do that, and put a layer in between those two spreadsheets. And there's ways around it, because you could basically have, if you have spreadsheet A, you have spreadsheet B, and spreadsheet C, and everybody has access to spreadsheet A, and you don't want everybody to have access to spreadsheet A, or spreadsheet on the other side, and you want to get that data through, just put a spreadsheet in between it that has an import range from B to A and then from C to B, because then people won't be able to actually pull that data through your source spreadsheet. And that's what I've recommended to people before. It works. It's kind of clunky because there's lots of communications, but there's ways around it from how you design the connections.
That's awesome. Man, I really, really do appreciate it. I appreciate you talking about, because this is a big deal with, I don't know. It's a big deal because a lot of people, once they realize some of the tools and the things that spreadsheets can actually do for you.
I think even more important is how simple it is to implement the things that it can do. I think I know for me, Excel was always one of those things that only the brainiacs get to know. And you guys definitely are the brainiacs who know this stuff, but you have shared it enough, as well as Google making it simplistic enough that somebody like myself can actually do some basic stuff that isn't gonna break everything. And I do feel accomplished. I mean, there's a lot of things I've had to ask Michael for help with, but there's also been a lot of things watching you guys do this, being able to go in and do myself. So I think that's a real big plus for Google Sheets, if it can make an everyday user utilize the tool a little bit more and more every time. And watching a demonstration like this, just mind-boggling. I literally have notes here. I'm gonna have to go in and try some of this stuff out. And we got Phil Boyer saying, "Very cool. I dig it. Thanks."
Yep, absolutely. It's
so
wonderful.
that says a whole lot, because Phil and I are a lot alike in the sense of I'd rather just not.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Reach out to some of us. I mean, that's the kind of thing. That's what we do with a lot of times. Man, I can't figure this one out. What, help me out on this, or that kind of thing. I think that's a big deal too.
That's the best part about tinkering with tech. I mean, honestly, that really is the best part. And I'm not just biased because I'm on the show, but that's what we do here. We just tinker around with it and help each other figure it out. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yep, for sure.
There's only
Thank you, Ted.
500 million other things you can do in spreadsheets. Maybe you
500 billion others.
Maybe you could come back and
sure. Yeah, and I think one thing I just wanted to say, like how I learned this stuff too. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and when I started, I was just like, I had a question about how to do something, and I went on the forums, I asked the question and found other people who had all this knowledge, and like now here I am doing that same thing for other people. But what I find is it's really hard to do like a webinar like this with trying to explain a concept when it's so broad to people. And what I find is the forums are great because you can go on there, people will explain what they're trying to do, and then you can see how somebody gave a solution to that. And sometimes just reading that, you'll be like, oh, just the possibilities now are just endless for you because you learned a new capability or a new functionality, and sometimes it just takes somebody else.
I'm glad you said that, because and this is what Google Sheet provides over Excel. You can send someone a blank, and a lot of times the people in the experts in there will say, hey, look, give us a blank copy. Don't put any data in it, but give us a blank copy of exactly what you're trying to accomplish. Even if it's written in, we'll come up with the formulas to make that happen for you. And when you do that, when you design that, here's 2 forms, here's 2 whatever, go build it and do it for me. I mean, that's a little bit exaggerated, but at least they get the idea and say, yeah, you can do this. Here's how we can start helping you. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, that's one of the things we always do too, is we say, we have a canned response for it. Please give us a spreadsheet. But part of it makes it easy for us to help them. But the other benefit is it's there as long as that person doesn't do anything at that spreadsheet. I mean, it's there forever. Right. So if you go and you read that and you're like, what did they do? You can go click on it and you can read and kind of see what we did. And you can make a copy of it too if you want to do something similar. So it's just this wealth of information and resources. It's great.
Speaking of resources, Andrew says, I'm always yelling, Michael, I need a formula.
All right. Community members, you guys, we're going to have a backstage pass for as long as
at least 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Ted has 3 minutes left, you guys. Get in there real quick and ask some questions.
But no, please, thank you to everybody that watched. Anybody that rewatches this later, if you're back watching this and you guys have any questions, feel free to join the community. We'd love to have you in the community. It is a paid for, but I mean, I'm telling you,
it's $10 a month. If after $10, after your first month, you don't feel any need to just cancel.
I'll give you a formula.
Right. For $10, you'll give a formula for $10.
Yes, absolutely. Even my dog. See, you hear my dog. She even said so. No, thank you, Ted. Thanks again. I love it when you come on, because I have a passion for this as well. The backstage pass, depending on how long you got, because you probably haven't eaten dinner, I'll probably have you here for like an hour and a half going over some questions I had. No,
I'll stay for a little bit. I mean, it's only 5 o'clock here.
It's now
so
2 minutes. It's now 2 minutes. Not that I'm counting.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll do it again. We'll definitely do it again because
Sure.
there's always stuff to learn, and I guarantee you people will learn something from this. Hopefully somebody takes something out of this. And like I said, anybody who rewatches this later, feel free. Please come in, ask questions, whatever. Ask me questions. I'll be glad to get with you, talk to you about it. Anything that we can do to help you, please feel free to join in the community. Community members, it should be a good one. Again, Ted, thank you. Heather, as always, thank you very much. And we will see you folks next time. Y'all be good. We'll see you. All right, Ted, I gave you a link. Put it in your Hangout message box. You can click that link to go into Zoom. I want to go let these other people in. The other, so let me go here. Go there. I'll mute that. I'll stay here till I make sure you go over the and get in, but yeah, I know I'm muted. Yeah. Let's make sure Ted gets over there once you click in and go. Oh, that mic. Yeah. Sophie. So then we know who let the dogs out. Let's see. Is that Ted? Yes. Admit.
So should I leave the other one?
Yeah, you can leave the other one now because you're in that other one. Thanks. There we go. So yeah. Yeah, I did. I think Ted's there now. I was just making sure Ted made it over before I went and did this. So, and I think. There we go. There you go. I'll be back in a second. Take my dog out. Come on, son. Yeah. I gotta take the dog out. Will you let them in about 5 minutes? I want to ask him some questions. Yeah. Has to leave. All right, thanks. All right. Here's my question. All right, so we have so you have a proposal.